Hey, beautiful and brilliant mamas. Welcome back to For Black Mompreneurs, the podcast where we hold space for Black women who are mothers and entrepreneurs, unapologetically chasing purpose and prosperity. I am your host, Femi Lewis. In last week's episode, we discussed analysis paralysis and how waiting on perfection will get you nowhere in business or in your life. Today, we're going to talk about the even more evil sister to analysis paralysis. This is imposter syndrome, and she's that inner voice that silences our greatness and keeps us from stepping into our fullest potential. So if you've ever felt like you didn't belong in rooms that you worked so hard to enter, if you've ever second guessed your brilliance or downplayed your wins, even when you know you earned them, this episode is definitely for you. So first I want to unpack this term that has so many of us in a chokehold, but I also want to share a story. Early on, when I entered into the world of entrepreneurship and was really considering how to move my life, I remember that I was so excited to get started. And then someone asked me for my services, and I got this huge knot in my throat. And I wondered, okay, I had this great idea and I had the belief that I could do it, but then I was wondering, could I really do it? Then I was wondering, would they think I charge too much because I don't have a lot of experience? And if they did say no, was that an indication that I wasn't truly good enough and had never stepped up to the plate to begin with? Luckily enough, I was blessed early on that another mompreneur saw that I was holding myself back. And she said, Femi, you've got everything you need to be great. You just got to get that shit done and take notes along the way. And that was probably the best advice I could have ever received, because without it, I would have been listening to that inner voice that holds so many of us back, telling us or making us convince ourselves that we're not good enough, that we don't belong in certain spaces, that we're going to be found out to be a fraud, that we don't have the skills or the talent or the creativity that we believe that we have. So that inner voice, it would have kept me from taking on clients, from talking about my business, and having that audacity to keep pushing forward. And if I had really listened to that inner voice, I wouldn't even be here on this podcast talking to you. So imposter syndrome is that nagging doubt that makes you believe that you're not good enough and you are incapable of reaching your fullest potential. And if you do find success, it's pure luck. Perhaps it's even the right timing. Someone might have been generous, but never because of you and your grind, your talent, your creativity, or your experience. And imposter syndrome, it can have you feeling so worthless on the inside while everyone else is cheering you on and bigging you up in the biggest way. But you will feel like, I don't even know if I can do this, despite what everyone else is telling you. And I'm here to tell you that as a Black mompreneur, we need to work on navigating these negative thoughts. We have to build sustainable businesses that will allow us to raise our children and teach them the value of entrepreneurship and the growth mindset that goes along with it. So just think about this. If our children hear us speak our innermost thoughts, why me? What if I messed this up? Or what if they see us constantly comparing ourselves to others and saying, I'll never be able to do what they do. I'm not that good. Or what if they never see us show up online, pitch ourselves because we are thinking, I don't have it all together. If they never see us do those things, they'll never believe in the power of putting one foot in front of the other and pushing the needle forward. And instead, they'll become the next generation of naysayers. Those group of people that sit on the corner or on the stoop with the fixed mindset right? They're standing on the sidelines making comments about what everybody else does, and they're not moving forward in their life. And they're making excuses for why they can't do what they have the talent and skill to do. So I don't know about you, but this is not how I see my children living. I'm showing up every day in my business so that they can see that thriving is not always easy, but it is accessible. And they need to believe in themselves. And so the best thing that I can do is constantly show them mommy believes in herself so that she can believe in them. Now I know what you're thinking, or maybe you've thought about this at some point about how hard motherhood is, right? And that entrepreneurship is also difficult. And we are juggling a lot. That's comes with the territory of both motherhood and entrepreneurship, right? So I remember juggling nap schedules and client calls. And if you knew anything about my children, they never slept on a schedule. We're building brands while helping with homework. Some of us have to work a 9 to 5, manage a household, and grow a business. And because we're so used to carrying all of that weight, perhaps imposter syndrome just seeps through the cracks so much easily and tells us we're all failing at all of it. But I'll say this over, but I really want to be real with you. Imposter syndrome is not a reflection of our abilities. It's really just a byproduct of a system that was never ever built for us to thrive in. We all know what we are navigating and dealing with in every moment of our lives. Racism, sexism, misogyny, all of the expectations of motherhood, while also building sustainable businesses that fortify us and leave legacy for our families. So if you felt it, that nagging feeling like you can't because of so many things, you're not alone. But I want you to know, sis, you also don't have to stay stuck believing that you can't win, because you absolutely can. Same way that you want your children to win every day, you can win every day too. We can manage these negative thoughts. We can feel better. We can build bold brands. We can lead with confidence and live the lives we deserve. But we've got to do a couple things. So I'm going to give you 5 tips that I feel will help you really transition out of imposter syndrome. The first thing I want you to do is name the negativity, but I don't want you to own its presence. So, having an awareness is powerful. And when that voice starts to creep into your head and tell you you're not ready, or who do you think you are, I want you to pause and say, that's imposter syndrome talking, and I'm not going to let it win. I don't want you to let it sneak around you unchecked, like that girlfriend or that person that thinks they're your friend, but they're really like negative Nancy's. You got to treat it the same way. Block it. I want you to think about what those negative thoughts are, and then I want you to shift your feelings. The next thing I want you to do is reframe that fear. I've learned that whenever I have some level of fear, it's often an indication that I'm doing something well in my life and that I'm making some sort of change, and I need to just push through. So we have to rephrase our thoughts that we can move forward. That it's just a small shift, right? That'll make a huge difference. So for me, instead of saying things like, I'm not ready, I say, I'm growing, I'm learning. I don't say I'm not good at this. I say, still learning, I'm getting the hang of this. The next thing I want you to do is create some sort of file for yourself where you can look at all of your wins. Some people call it a brag file. You can call it whatever you need to, but I want it to be a digital or a physical folder where you keep screenshots of client praise, testimonials, even if you have like old reviews from work that say great things about you. I want you to keep those things and review them. And when the doubt sets in, I want you to open up that folder and I want you to look at that so you can remind yourself of who you are. Those are your receipts that will back up and help you shift from all of those negative thoughts. I also want you to stop comparing yourself to others. We all have our own journeys as entrepreneurs, and things like social media, how people are able to build an online presence. It makes it easy for us to fall into comparison sometimes. But remember that, people are showing highlights. highlights. Other entrepreneurs are showing highlights of their lives. They're not necessarily always showing behind the scenes how they got to that place. So think about your timeline being yours and keep your eyes on your purpose and not somebody else's reel. Finally, and this is really important, I want you to cultivate a community for yourself. You know, if you work from home, you work in silo a lot. And sometimes that can really breed imposter syndrome because you're not around other people. You're isolated. You're not hearing other encouraging voices. So, of course, there's room for you to second guess yourself. But you need people around you to remind you of who you are and what your power is, and especially other Black mompreneurs who get it. So I want you to find or create a circle where it's safe to say, I'm struggling, and be met with support instead of judgment. So here's my final word. You know, sis, you were not called into entrepreneurship just to play small. And that's something I have to remind myself of all the time too, to keep pushing forward. And you're not building it for ego. You're building it for a legacy for your children and your children's children. If for nothing else, that they have a mindset that they developed from you, that they always need to push forward no matter what. So don't let that internal critic, that inner voice, take the mic when your inner CEO should be running the show. I want you to remember you are qualified, you are worthy, and you are equipped. And even when you don't feel like it, you still are. So I'm closing out. And I want you to remember, if this episode spoke to you, I want you to do two things. First, I'd like for you to DM me on Instagram at 4blackmompreneurs and share with me one way that imposter syndrome has shown up for you and what you have done to push back against it. The next thing I want you to do is share this episode with another Black mompreneur who needs this message. And as always, subscribe, leave a review, and keep showing up unapologetically. Until next time, keep building, keep mothering, and keep shining, because the world needs what only you can create. Peace.